Hey everyone, and welcome to another video. So today we're taking a look at another Android TV box. I've done quite a few of these recently on the channel. I've reviewed two Superbox models, so the S4 Pro as well as the S5 Pro. I have also had the S5 Max for a little while, so we'll have a separate video on that. So if that hasn't already come out, then it should be coming out soon. But today what we have is the StreamX X1 Pro Android TV box. This company actually saw one of my videos regarding the Superbox, and they actually reached out to me and suggested that I have a look at their box as well. So this one is also based on Android 12. It's got Wi-Fi 6 built in, so it's got the quad-core ARM Cortex A53 processor. It's got 4GB DDR RAM and 65GB eMMC. It's got the Bluetooth remote, and this one actually has a slightly different remote to all of the other ones, so I'll include a few screenshots of it. Compared to the usual remotes that you get with the Superbox models, this one does have less functionality on it, but it's set more similar to what you'd expect from maybe a Roku device or something like that. More of a modern sort of set-top box remote where it's limiting the amount of buttons, but it's spaced out and the sort of user experience is better as a result, apart from maybe one or two places where the lack of play, pause, stop, all that kind of stuff may cause you an issue, but that's where the normal scroll button would normally come in, so you just use your normal diagonal buttons instead. Okay, so coming on to the actual box itself, as you can see the layout is slightly different, so it's kind of reversed. So this big image on this left hand side, on the Superboxes it's on the flip side, so it's on the opposite side, and all of these icons on the left hand side are normally along the bottom. These bigger icons at the bottom here are basically your shortcuts. Once again, you have three main ones that you kind of set up, and what we'll do is we'll just quickly run through how you actually get this box set up. So originally when it comes, it will come blank, so it'll just be a blank Android box. It'll have a few basic apps such as these ones: Calendar, Gallery, Miracast, all of these, Play Store, but you won't have no additional apps installed. So in order to do that, you come across to this section here, App Store. This App Store icon here, the blue one, originally it's the green Android logo, so you click on that, it will give you a prompt to install an update. You click on that, you follow the install, and then it will change to this icon. So this is their own app store that you can basically go in and download their apps from. So if we go into this, as you can see from the actual layout of this, this is slightly different. To me, it appears like all of these boxes basically use the same template, but this one has at least gone out of its way to change the design a little. So this, along the left hand side, you've got categories in terms of what types of apps comes directly from their app store, and then obviously you do have the Google Play Store as well, so you can download as many different apps from there as you like as well. But the main ones, as you can see, recommended, even though it doesn't say recommended, it's meant to be that. So your recommended ones are these three along the top, and these are the equivalent of basically your Blue TV, Blue VOD and Blue Playback apps from the Superboxes. You'd also have a lot of similar ones that were bundled in the App Store as part of the Superbox as well. So all of these ones you've got as well. You can go in and install these if you like. In theory, you shouldn't really need any of these because all the content on these will already be on that app there, and obviously your Echo TV covers any live TV that you may want. But as I mentioned before, this is an Android box, so if you want to go in and install an IPTV player, if you want to install any other additional apps, you can do as well. On here you do have a few other categories for app stores, so obviously a few of them are already installed, and then at the bottom you've got a few additional tools and stuff that you can install as well, and then you've got these two at the bottom for quick support and host as well. So coming back to the home screen, similarly to the Superbox, whenever you set up any of these particular folders, so live TV, VOD and also the playback, you're essentially having to click twice. So first you have to click into this and then you click into the app. So rather than that, I prefer to have everything laid out along the bottom here, and then you can just quickly one click straight into the app. So first thing we will do is mute the audio, and this is connected via Ethernet, so this is the speed that you should be expecting whenever you're connected via the fastest possible connection. So if we just come across to the top, and I'll get it off anything copyright to start with. So as you can see, this one actually comes with 1,327 channels in total. The layout of these pay-per-view events, obviously once again, And if you look down the folders on these and you look at similar boxes, they're all very similar. So I'm not sure what the additional 300 channels or the missing 300 channels from this box in comparison to the super boxes is. They're in there somewhere, so there's 300 instances. I have a feeling that it may be some of these, so it may be some of the 24/7, because out of all of this sort of sports and general sort of channels that I was able to add to favorites, which I like to do on all these boxes. So generally I like to have all of the general sports channels that I tend to use for Premier League and things like that. I tend to save them in here, so these all look very similar. Now one thing to note is the quality for me is not quite the same. So if we just come into, I don't know, sports F1, and you can see the load time, that quality there to me does not look on par with what I was getting from the other boxes. So this just looks slightly lower grade in terms of the quality and also the frame rate as well. So even though a lot of these boxes, the main sort of downside is the fact that they don't have 50 or 60 FPS channels, a lot of the channels, especially ESPN and maybe some of the Super Sports as well as the USA channels, for certain things, the ESPN generally always tends to be in a faster frame rate. USA on occasion can do the similar thing as well. The layout on this, once again, not the best because it's not got these channels in the right order. It's sorting by the first character rather than the actual numerical numbers, so you jump from 1 straight to 10. Small thing, but obviously that's something that is different between the various boxes. In terms of coming down here, these all look very, very similar. I don't really see much difference between the layout of these and in terms of what you're actually getting in terms of content. So I'm not sure, like I said, I'm not sure where those 300 channels have gone, the difference between this and the Superbox, but that's something to note. Coming out of there, because I don't want to get copyright striked, through my brief testing of the TV channels, everything generally tends to work, but what I did notice on some of the channels was the fact that when you first go into it, it'll load the channel, but then it'll loop back, say 10 seconds, 20 seconds, something like that, which I'd never seen that on any of the Superboxes. So I'm not entirely sure why it did that or what the reason was, but thereafter it did tend to play back fine. So yeah, as I mentioned on the Superbox, if you look in this bottom corner, bottom right hand corner, you can see the sort of speed that it's loading at. And as you can see, this is loading at around averaging 400-500 kilobytes. Now some of the channels on the Superbox load as high as maybe 2,000 or 3,000 kilobytes, so that shows you the quality difference. Now obviously I'm going off just a random channel here, whereas I was comparing it to the main sports channels that I was watching, but just overall the quality of the channels on this, whilst everything does work and is smooth and it works as a normal TV box would. So as you can see, this particular channel, it looks much higher quality. If I just bring that up full screen, and you can see from the actual numbering in the bottom corner that initially when this loaded up, it was a much higher bit rate as well. So occasionally some of the channels may be slightly better quality, but overall, comparing side by side, this just seems to be slightly lower. Coming on to the VOD, now the layout on this is, I would say, slightly better than compared to the Superbox. So just having everything there, so you don't have to have separate apps for it. So you've got obviously same thing, so you got your recommended, your newest, and then it's got your movies and TV series. All of your settings for this one are on your first page along the bottom here, so you come across the settings, and if you look at this and compare it to the Superbox, it's basically almost identical. So you have an upgrade button, you have your decoder, and then you choose your speed, and once again it comes default on fastest, which is good, so hopefully you should get the highest quality. Unfortunately, that's where it the good news kind of ends, where on some of the movies that I've played back, it's not been the best experience. So for example, what I did was I came down to new releases, because sometimes what you do is, if you go to filter, and the filter section is exactly the same as the Superbox design as well, and if I was to come back right back to like 2000, and I was to just click on, well, it doesn't look like there is any for 2000, but if I come to 2001 and I just pick a random movie, there's a chance that because this is so old, there's no actual copy, because to my understanding, this is still, it looks like it's still working off a peer-to-peer connection. So when you click on it, it's basically loading off other people or off a server. Now, if I was to go to a really old one, there's a chance that this particular movie isn't on the list, as you can see from the bottom right-hand corner. So if you look at that red -17 just in the bottom corner, that's normally what you get on the TV channels as well whenever something is just not there. So in order to be fair, what I did was I came to new releases and I basically just came down to a couple of random ones, and let me see if I can actually find it. I think it was this one. I think it was Devotion that actually came into, and I'm not going to do it now because once again I don't want to get a copyright strike. But essentially what I did was I hit play, and what ended up happening was it would start to buffer, it'd start to play, but then it would pause. And there's no reason for it to do that because this has got a gigabit Ethernet connection at the moment, and my internet is about a gigabit down as well. So there's no problems with speed. If I was to go straight to the speed test app and run a speed test, it'll come through around 500-600 megabits per second mark, so there's no reason for it to buffer. Every single movie that I've tested it with, I've not had a smooth experience on any of them. And it was the same thing with TV series as well. With the movies, you could probably say, yeah, if you're trying to load the best quality, it might be because it's a really large file size, but there's no reason for a single episode, once again, of a new release. So I think I came in and I think I clicked on one that I'd already seen. So it may have been The Bear or it may have been Miss Marvel, but I clicked on one of these. I can't remember exactly which one. And I just went to the very first episode, I hit play, and it did exactly the same thing. So initially it'll start to play and then it'll pause and then maybe play for a little while, but then it shouldn't be doing that. It shouldn't be needing to buffer with the speed of the connection that he actually has. So there are a few niggles. Now, I don't know whether that's once again because this might be a new device, it may be on an early firmware, and these are things that they might be able to resolve, or it could just be something server-side that they were experiencing during the time when I was actually testing this, because I've only been testing this for a couple of days because obviously I've got that experience of the similar boxes. So when I came into this, it all looks so familiar that I don't need any time to actually get used to how to use it. So in terms of content, as you can see, like, it's got everything that you would want. So every new TV series that comes out, every new movie that comes out, if it's available on the net, then it's available here. So in terms of content, there's a lot of it there. As we did see, if you go to the oldest stuff, it's not gonna have any sources, but then I suppose they will have a way that you can report that. And if you really wanted to watch one of those movies, all you would have to do is report it to them, and hopefully they'd be able to get the sort of missing link sorted, and then you'd be able to actually go in and watch it. So not a big deal in terms of the missing content, it's more the fact that you're having those issues with the playback. That for me is the biggest issue with this particular section of this box. Now coming on to the playback, and this is actually a similar story on both the super boxes as well as this box, and that is the fact that despite the fact that these boxes have 1300 plus channels, when I scroll down, it maxes out at 85 and it will not go further. So no matter what I do, I can't go any further. I can't do voice search. So this remote does have a voice search option. When you use that, all it does is it kind of does like a global search. So it'll go to Google Play Store or something like that. I've not been able to get it to actually search within here. So I couldn't just go in here and, for example, search for USA and get it to bring up the USA channel. But on all the other sort of tests I did, whenever I went to play it, it wouldn't be able to find the content and it just kind of linger on this 0 kilobits per second. So once again, this particular app for me, personally, I would never use this anyway. So all of the kind of content that shows up in here, I would just find elsewhere. So I'd probably just use it through VOD or something like that. I don't generally watch normal daytime TV, so none of this stuff is really of interest to me anyway, but obviously the app is there for a reason, and for me that app doesn't really work on this box, and I don't think it works on the super boxes either. So that's kind of one that both manufacturers take a loss on. And if we just quickly come into fast, just to give you an idea in terms of the connection speed. So once again, as you can see, it's more than fast enough. There's no reason for this to be buffering. 720 megabits per second, so more than fast enough internet, no reason for you to get any type of buffering anywhere. Along the left hand side, you've got all your usual sort of settings. So on this particular one, if we hit that, and it will bring up all your usual Android settings, and this, in terms of access and everything, it's got pretty much exactly the same as what you would get on the super boxes as well. So all your settings are the same. You can come in here, you can manually go in and choose a fixed frame rate, or you can just leave it on auto and it'll kind of switch automatically between the whatever it deems appropriate for the content that you're actually playing. That's the overview. Obviously all your rest of your settings on here are just your Android 12 settings for a set-top box. So if you really wanted to delve into all of that, you could do, but there's not a lot there that you can actually change to make a difference in the actual user experience. So overall, this is very, very similar to the Superboxes. Unfortunately for me, I can't recommend this over a Superbox. So if you only have this as an option and the content that you watch is within those 1300 channels, then I would suggest that, yeah, this is okay buy, because it's, at the end of the day, it's a one-off payment and you've got content for the rest of your life. So as long as that box works, you will keep getting content. The downside is the fact that obviously it's limited to those 1300 channels, but obviously the plus side is it's Android based. So you can just go in and you can install whatever additional apps that you want, either just via an APK or via the Play Store. So for example, you can install IPTV and then you've got 10,000 plus channels, and then obviously you've got additional apps that you can install for movies and TV series as well. So even if these built-in ones don't work 100%, there's always fallbacks that you can use, and the hardware within this is capable of playing that back. I just wish that the built-in content was better, and they somehow managed to fix that. I have actually contacted them. They're not seeing this video before you guys. This video goes live and everybody sees it at the same time, but out of courtesy, because they did send me the box, I have all the points that I've made in this video. I basically just put in an email to them as well with suggestions in terms of how I think that they could possibly improve it, or things that they need to fix in order to make it a competitor for the Superbox, because the Superbox is the main other one out there. I have got another box on the way, so once that arrives, I'll make a video on that as well, but I don't want to mention too much about that because that one's supposedly slightly different and it's going to have a few more features compared to the Superbox and the Stream Xbox. But these ones, comparatively speaking, out of the two, I would always recommend the Superbox, just because of the usability and the quality of the playback on those TV channels as well. But this one, for what it is, it works perfectly fine. You will once again get all those sports channels, you'll get the pay-per-view, you get the movies, you get the VOD for all of that kind of stuff. So once again, I'll just quickly run down the left hand side. So you get your favorite section. In order to add it, you just hold on any channel, it will add it to favorites. So you get your network TV, 230 channels, regionals, 295, sports networks, 138. So a lot of this is your European channels as well as your UK channels as well. After that, you got some 24/7. So if you just want content playing, then you can just hit one of those, it'll play. You have your pay-per-view events all there. You've got your NBA, MLB, NFL, NCAAF, MLS, NCAAB, NHL, ESPN, music, Canada, Latino, Supersport. And that's pretty much very similar to what you were getting on the Superboxes as well. So the video did drag on a little bit longer than I wanted to, but I just wanted to give you an in-depth look at everything that you get, as well as highlighting all of the sort of niggles and issues that I've had. A lot of these may well get resolved by the time you buy one of these and whatever particular firmware or software version that's actually running on. But I just wanted to make everybody aware of these, so then you can go into it knowing that. So if none of these issues affect you, if you're not really that bothered about having the highest res, or if you don't really watch sports as much and just 24 FPS content for movies and TV series is fine, then none of those issues are really a problem to you. Then, as I say, it works, it does what it says it's meant to do. They do need to work on the VOD section, but I'm sure that's something that they can resolve. This is another option that's out there if you want to just cut the cord, pay a one-off payment, cancel all those subscription payments, which all started around £30-40 and dollars, and as we're now finding, they're all close to $100 or £100 each. I know here in the UK, a lot of the services, Apple TV Plus, Netflix, Disney Plus, all these kind of stuff, originally they started out either free or for 40 quid or something like that. Not too much. So you go and sign up for a year, and then here we are a couple of years later, and all of a sudden you're paying hundreds of pounds for each. So this is your option of just paying a one-off payment and never having to worry about any further bills thereafter, and you've got content every night or every day whenever you want it. As always, if you have benefited from the video, I would appreciate if you can give this video a thumbs up. If you haven't already done so, please do subscribe and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future videos. And until the next one, thanks very much for watching.